You were punching me there kind of hard, saying I was forgetting you. I wasn't counting my number for you. All right. Danny, welcome to the program. First time here. We love to have first-time visitors. Hopefully you become a frequent visitor.
Thank you. I'd be happy to.
But it's a great honor to have the national president of the AOH. That is really something. I must tell you, I know Roger Weiss was friends, a great friend of yours, JC and I. We all miss Roger an awful lot.
I miss Roger a lot.
And he was such a wonderful promoter of the AOH. He was the one that always tell me, did you renew your membership? Make sure you have it in. Get it in there.
Roger would be on my national board if he was still with us. He was a great advisor, a great worker, and he was known in our community for his Freedom for All Ireland work.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to talk to you about. Let's talk about the AOH, because I'm sure we have listeners that might not have heard of it. How old is it? How old is the organization?
1836 is when we were founded, and obviously we were founded as so many immigrant groups. We were founded to protect our clergy. At that time, the Irish weren't on the highest rung on the ladder, so to speak, and we had issues where our clergy were being actually murdered for simply being Catholics and Irish Catholics, and so that's really the heart of why we formed. And today, you know, we actually continue to work with our clergy, and one of our cornerstone projects is our Seminarian Scholarships. And AOH, who was one of the famous RTE correspondents, is writing a book that we're going to have to hook you up with Jim Fahey, one of the greatest people I've met. And they are coming to Youngstown, and he was an IRB man who was chased out of Galway and into London, and then they found him in London, and he ended up coming in, and he settled in Youngstown, and anyone from the mill days understands what a puddler was, and with the steel, and he was also a poet. And the story goes, the legend is that when Bruce Springsteen was here in Youngstown introducing the song Youngstown, he went and visited the grave because he was such a great influence on him, and obviously also the labor unions. And he was a huge AOH man when he came to Youngstown. So we had a lot of that.
John Kennedy was a member of the AOH.
Yes,
President
he was.
Kennedy.
He was a member of the Watertown Division. Earlier on the email they mentioned Dick Thompson. He is from the division. John F. Kennedy was a member.
Now, I imagine there are a lot of conflicts. The AOH, like you said, is a Catholic organization. But how about the political influences? Within that Catholic organization, you have Democrats, you have Republicans, you have different views. And Ashley, I'm sure, would have something to say about all of this. But there has to be conflicts.
There
are certain
is.
things that you guys, that's a certainty with the AOH that you cannot veer from. And then you have the people in politics that say, well, that really is not the way I like to think for myself.
Absolutely.
How do those conflicts get resolved? And say at a big meeting you have.
Well, we're an issues-based organization, and we actually, by Constitution, we're not allowed to support any political candidate or any political party, and at the same time, it specifically says we're not allowed to work against any political candidate or any political party. So we work on issues, and obviously there's political candidates that support our issues for United Ireland that might not support our issues for a pro-life.
The right to life.
And the right to life, and that's a conflict for that individual. It's not a conflict for our organization. When we're working on right to life, we work with the political leaders who are pro-life. We're involved with the march. We're supporting the Catholic Church, but we can't endorse those candidates. Just like when we're working with the candidates who's helped us so much. Brendan Boyle out of Philadelphia actually started the legislation that created they have a resolution in Congress that they will not support a trade agreement with the United Kingdom if they don't maintain the Good Friday Agreement under Brexit. And that's was a huge step for the Irish people. And so obviously we support Brendan. some of the Democrat congressmen don't fit in our model when it comes to our pro-life issues. And as we get into an election, we talk about the issues, and we say you have to review the issues and you have to make your own choice when it comes to politics. And it's a challenge, but as long as we educate everybody that we're issues-based, not politically based, that helps.
So if a person is a Hibernian and they decide to do something or to take a point of view that's controversial, or I mean that is contrary to the views of the AOH, do you kick the person out of the AOH?
Our structure is being a Catholic, and
So if a Catholic,
it's our church. It's our feeling that it would be up to if you were excommunicated, you would have to leave the AOH. And it's not our job to judge you, to judge your morality, to judge your views. And I think the Catholic Church looks at some of our political leaders who are Catholic, and in the same fashion that might not fit all of their cards, and they understand that in their secular life they need to support what their constituency wants. I mean, that's what they're elected to do, and it's a difficult road to walk. But as long as we stick to the issues and get off the politics, so we're able to walk that line.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear about this. And I'm using this as an example,
Right,
because
it's a
I
good
don't know
example.
for sure. Let's say Joe Biden is a Catholic,
Yes.
and by all accounts he's supposed to be a devout Catholic. Would he be, and I don't know if he's a member of the Hibernians or not, but let's say he was. Would he be kicked out of the Hibernians now for his views?
Only if he was excommunicated from the Catholic Church.
So in other
We're
words,
not.
it's up to the church.
We yield to the church. We're Catholics, and it's like any organization, any religion, any faith. I don't think every member agrees 100% with everything, and so it's not our job as an organization to determine whether you're a
Sinner
Catholic.
or not, huh?
No, we're not. I'm not. We're all sinners. We're all sinners. I'll tell you that right
I
now.
got a bunch of them
But-
here every Sunday
But
morning with me.
it's the churches.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to go into JC's issues, but it's up to the church to do that. It's up to the chaplains and the priests. It's certainly not up to the officers of an organization, a Catholic organization, no different than the Knights of Columbus or anyone else. It would be wrong for me to make that judgment on anybody.
Yeah, I just wonder though, I don't know if you heard recently, and I don't dwell on this too long because I want to get back onto the nuts and bolts of the Hibernians, but I just saw where Pete Buttigieg was, became a member of the faculty of Notre Dame. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that it's important. I work at Youngstown State University. I understand the importance of bringing in quality faculty members. I don't think Notre Dame doesn't only hire Catholics, doesn't only hire saints.
But it is a Catholic university.
Correct. And I think that Notre Dame has a responsibility to the academicians to hire the best people they can get. And if that's the choice of Notre Dame, that's a choice of Notre Dame. I think as an organization, as other Catholic organizations that judge any group, I would not do that. I mean, we had some people that were upset that President Obama spoke at commencement, and now we have people that are upset that they didn't have President Trump speak. So those are decisions that the university makes. We're very close with the university. We have a scholarship there. We support their Catholic Studies program, the Cushwa Centers. Interesting enough, the Cushwas are from Youngstown, Ohio. And the AOH gave a grant years ago to start the Catholic Studies program, which actually became the Cushwa Center. That's how we support Catholic universities. We don't make those judgments.
I do know, Danny, that Lou Holtz has a very different opinion of that.
Well, that's Lou's. Lou has that.
And he's very vocal about it.
Lou's entitled to his opinion.
He's very vocal about it. Let me talk to you about immigration for a minute.
Yes.
Because I'm an immigrant myself. I came here in 1961 when Ashley was talking about the gangs in New York and coming to New York. I came to that dock in New York City, and I know what it was like to get off the ship. I was one of the lucky ones, though. I did have a good friend that met me at the dock, but I often think back, and his name was John Garvey, he died a couple of years ago, but I often think to myself, what would it be like? Here I was 19 years old, getting off the ship. I didn't know a single soul except that one person, and thank God he was able to meet me. But I have a lot of great respect for all of the people that were able to do that, especially young girls at 17, 18 years
Yes.
old by themselves. It was just unbelievable. Mamie Chambers, I can imagine what it was like. But recently there was a case in New York where a man was here for 25 years, and he came illegally to the country, or he was an illegal immigrant, and he was sent back a few weeks ago. And I know you're very familiar with it.
Malachi.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when Malachi first came to the country, my division, I was the division president back then, and we had a letter writing campaign. It was the first one I got involved in, and we had 185 members, and I think we sent 165 letters to our senators, and I got everyone come in and personally sign the letters, and it was a real chore. And I've been working with Malachi since then, and you know, it's that's a case that we're not pleased with. We're not pleased with the outcome. I think that our immigration is broke down into several issues. First and foremost, we want to build a fair and equitable immigration policy with Ireland. That's our number one responsibility, and that's more coming over legally. It's probably more difficult for me to immigrate to Ireland than it would be from someone from Ireland to immigrate to the United States today. So we want to use that wedge. Not that I'm trying to go to Ireland, but we want to say we're telling our government we want to be able to immigrate to Ireland. Therefore, we want to open up Irish immigration here. So that's one facet. The other facet is we have political prisoners that came over to the States that we work with. A matter of fact, a couple of the folks, the Long Cache 4, the escapees who came here, and they came over on political asylum, but it's not complete. And then we have folks, not just political prisoners similar to Malachi McAllister, who came over, as you said, illegally. We also have other people who have come over here illegally, and it's not just the Irish, but people forget there's a lot of Polish, there's Slovenians, there's Ireland is the only country trying to come in, and so we're trying to enhance immigration for all those folks. And Malachi, you know, it was a very disappointing for us.
Yeah.
We're still working with him on a regular basis.
A very sad story, actually.
It is.
But however, the people on the other side will say, listen, he broke the law, and he has to be subject to the immigration laws of the United States.
Correct, and a lot of people will say that.
Yeah.
And that's something we deal with.
I think Senator Tom Cotton has some views on that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's not our favorite senator at this time.
He's
But
pretty
Tom,
he's pretty much a law and order guy.
but Tom's also held us up on, for example, the E3 visa. That it's a visa that's not being used right now, and it really should be open to the Irish. And Tom Cotton has put a hold on it and has prevented that to go through to open up the legal immigration from Ireland, and he's doing that for his own political gain, not for what's best for the people.
Somebody says to me recently, he said, you Irish, you want special rules just for the Irish alone, and you don't care about the Mexicans, you don't care about the Central American people, you just care about the Irish. You want your own special immigration laws. What do you say to that?
Well, I say we have supported comprehensive immigration reform for a long time. I actually spoke in Columbus when we first started the program, Legalize the Irish, and I went in with this jacket on, and everyone thought I was a bus driver because the majority of the folks there were Hispanic.
Yeah.
And we were talking about our relationship. I went to D.C. and we met with Senator DeWine, and we were there for the first big march. And we want immigration reform across the board. However, we also want to direct improvement between Ireland and the United States. When you look at the Irish history on building America, whether we start with signers of the Declaration of Independence, Commodore John Barry, when you look at, there's more Medal of Honor recipients that are Irish born than any other outside of America there are.
Mm-hmm.
And that says what the Irish have done for the United States, and we can't just simply turn our back
Yeah,
on
but the
that
other side of that
community.
story, Danny, would be you can't actually make special rules just for the Irish.
Well, you can, because we do it for other nationalities as well. Australia, I mean, I'd love to go to Australia. I almost played rugby there years ago, and I wasn't able to make it. But they have the E3 visa. Now, I personally, I don't know a single Australian American, yet they have a visa program that just came in the last, about 10 years ago, that we're trying to tag on to as the Irish community. They have 10,000 E3s a year, and they use less than 5. And that was a special situation because we were taking care of Australia. It happens all the time. We still support comprehensive. We support a complete overhaul of our immigration system. But as any immigrant group, we work for our people. Today, the Indians are working to get more green cards than any other.
I talked to
and they're
Paul
very
Rowan
close.
about that.
Yeah.
I tried to straighten him out about the Indians.
Yeah, and I'm not against what they're doing.
But listen,
However, they are overshadowing us as Irish.
I can tell you one thing right now. There's probably going to be a column on everything you're saying in townhall.com soon. I noticed her over there. She's taking notes.
Well, good writers do that.
Oh, they do, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They're listening all the time. They're working all the time.
Ashley, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Jump in there for a minute. I don't want to go on too long here because I got a bunch of commercials and I got to get a few songs in. What's your thoughts on immigration? Should we have open borders or not?
No. No country has open borders. We're the only one that's expected to. I think that to be fair to the people that want to come in here, they cannot live off the grid or, it's very dangerous for them, starting from when they cross the border. In the case of Central Americans and Mexicans, they are paying people who are very unscrupulous to sneak them in here a lot of times. There have been cases where the immigrants have been left in an abandoned truck in 100-degree heat in Texas, and they all suffocated and died from the heat. When they come here, if you're illegal and you're trying to avoid the authorities, you cannot call the police if you're a victim of a crime. It is a very undesirable way to come to America. And I see no reason why they can't come legally. We already take about 1 million Mexicans legally per year. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's something like that. People do come in legally. It's possible. They can apply for asylum if they're a refugee from a place like El Salvador. I have a lot of compassion for immigrants. I wrote a novel about my own family, which is a family of immigrants. But I do not believe in open borders.
Mm-hmm.
We don't either, so you understand. We believe in it. We know we need to improve it, but we're not for open
But
borders
Danny, I don't
in
know
any way.
why there's so much problems with immigration. When I came, it was a very simple process, actually. I wrote a letter to my aunt here in Cleveland. I says, Aunt Brady and Uncle Pat, can you sign a paper to say that if I come to America, you're going to look out for him, make sure that I don't end up on the welfare system? That's pretty much what it was. They wrote the letter, sent it back to me. I took it to the embassy in Dublin, and within 3 months, I was in America. Now, but I also, one of the things I got though, I got what they gave me a thing that looked like a driver's license, and it was called an alien registration card. And I had that card until the day I became a citizen. But every January, we had to report to the post office and give our address where we were living. If you didn't do that, you could be deported.
What year was that?
That was 1961 when I arrived, and I held that card.
5 years later,
Well,
you
I
wouldn't
didn't
be
become.
here.
I didn't become a citizen until 7 years later.
I understand, but we
But-
could thank Ted Kennedy for that.
Well, actually, it all started, the Kennedys, and I was telling this to Nancy Feehan, Michael Feehan, who was the congressman here in Cleveland. He was one of the main drivers of that, the reform of their immigration system, which I think was a bad thing that they did.
We think it was horrible. We think that, yes, it was
And I
like
like Michael
they took
Feehan.
it
I
too
think he's a
far.
wonderful person.
And Ted Kennedy told us and told everyone that what they did was a mistake. What they were trying to do was improve immigration, and part of that, Ireland had a quota of 17,000, I believe it was, immigrants a year.
And I was
And so
wondering,
you
how
were
is
one
it
of the
go?
17,000
I
in
was.
1961. They took that quota down to 0.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we failed our own history. And not just for Ireland, but the folks who built America were left out
Yeah.
because of that.
But part of the backstory of that also, the Prime Minister of Ireland at that time was a fellow named Sean Lemass,
Mhm.
and he is supposed to have worked with Kennedy to try and stop the immigration. This was now.
Well, that's a
it's
little
not
that's a little
documented.
out of kilter. He was, with the Irish government was working with John F. Kennedy
Mhm.
to reduce the quota, and at that time they referred to it as the Irish brain drain. But what was happening of those folks who were the brightest and sharpest minds of Ireland were leaving the country, and so the Irish government didn't want to go from 17,000 to 0. They might have wanted to go from 17,000 to 8,000 or 5,000, and to take it from 17 to 0 really hindered our
It's
culture.
terrible
It
mistake.
also, Cleveland and Youngstown's the same way. We're one of the things I love about it, and even Pittsburgh, is the ethnic communities. And those have totally changed since that immigration law changed, because it's not just Ireland, it's all of the European countries have lost.
Danny, we can talk all day. You got to come back again.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more, but we're not done yet. I just have to get some of my.
Of course, we have a great division here in Cleveland, and they have a web page, and you can grab them direct.
The requirements: do you have to be Irish? Do you have to be Catholic?
You have to be 16 years of age, you have to be Irish birth or descent, and you have to be a member of the Catholic Church.
The AOH Hibernians is men. They have a men's division and a women.
Well, we have two organizations. We would say sister brother organizations, but we're separate. At one time, we were together, and it started out the ladies were an auxiliary, and then the ladies became an organization of their own that was all within the same umbrella. And then about 10 years ago, the ladies completely separated and went out on their own, which is
Get away
great.
from you guys?
Daggone right. I mean, would you want to hang out with us all day? But what we do, though, is we have some programs that we work on together. One is our convention. Now, we have two separate conventions, but all our hospitality at the convention is together. We do our dinners together, our mass together. That was probably one of the most disappointing things about the virtual convention, is that we couldn't have everyone together. The other thing we do is one of our cornerstone projects is Project St. Patrick, where we raise scholarships for seminarians. We do that together, and then we have our Freedom for Ireland Christmas Appeal, where we raise money for various groups in the north of Ireland, everything from cross-community groups to former prisoner groups, but most importantly the justice groups, such as Relatives for Justice, the Finucane Center, and we work on those together. And so other than that, we're separate organizations.
How many, do you know how many members you have nationwide in all 50 states?
We're members on the men's side, we're about 40,000, and I think on the women's side they're between 12 and 16,000. But when you look at our families involved and the people we influence on a daily basis, we're about 85,000.
Mm-hmm. And how many states are you in?
50.
You are in
We're
all
in
50
every
states.
state, and
Has at least one chapter.
well, at least membership, because we opened up. I mentioned earlier, Joe Casey is running our at-large membership, and we solidified that a couple years ago, and we've done a major digital marketing plan. We're moving to a lot of online work, and that's helping us grow in these areas where, there might not be a lot of Irish Catholics in Alaska, but there are some, and we're providing an organization for them to be part of. And Joe's been heading that up, and we're proud to say that we are again in 50 states in the Union.
Just a quick question, and we won't get into a long answer. How strong is Catholicism in America today?
I think that's an individual, up to each individual. I think it's very strong. I think that it, well, clearly, I mean, the Catholic Church is the #1 charitable organization in the world. We provide more hospitals, more support for the poor, more support for the community than any other organization in the world. I would say Catholicism as an organization and as a religion is very strong, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
And the Hibernians are a big part of that. Ashley, come on back here with me.
All right.
We talk, we only have a few minutes. Your latest book is called Lake Erie Monsters. If somebody is just joining us, Story of the Cleveland Irish. If people want to get this book, and I would recommend it highly, Amazon has it. Where else can they get it? Do you have an email that they could contact you?
Yes, you can contact me at aebristow. It's spelled aebristow85 and I can tell you how to get a copy.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, there's a great book called Cleveland, the Rockefeller Years. And that's how I was telling you about Rockefeller, how he lived in East Cleveland.
Yes.
And the reason I remembered it, his gatekeeper was a fellow named Pat Murphy. He was with him for years and years. So it's a wonderful book. It's pretty hard to get it. The only place I know you can get it is at Lakeview Cemetery. They have it in the bookshop there. But
Okay.
I think it's out of print, but they may have some of them. But it gives a great history of the Rockefeller years, and it merges with what you were talking about,
Okay.
that presidential election. And your great-grandmother, Mamie.
Yes.
I don't think they mention her in the book, but they should have.
Yes.
So anyway, it's a great chance for anyone that wants this book. Take a picture of this.
I did.
Connie. There you go. Ashley, come back again.
I will.
All right.